Alright, I've finished eating, and I was telling you guys about a close call I had, I remember, and then I went off topic, as I often do. And, hold on. Hey, that was a white guy. Let's go bully him. Get out of my country, honky. I'm gonna give the traditional one white person to another white person greeting. Hey! Oh, he's not. He's not white. I totally thought he was white. I scared the shit out of him, though. All he said was, hey, and then waved. And then he jumped. I should apologize to him if he comes up next to me. He's staying away. Maybe he thinks I was angry at him. Oh, that was weird. Yeah, so I was riding my Ninja a couple of weeks ago, which was probably the last time I rode it, and I was going down a long straight, and I opened up the gas a bit, and then as I was getting near the end of the straight, I glanced at my mirror because there was a car that that was driving quickly, and I wanted to see how far behind me it was. Anyway, so I just glanced at my mirror for a second, and then when I look back up, I'm at the end of the road, and I'm going too quick for the corner, and it scared me. But luckily, well, I just braked hard and then turned hard, and I made the turn. But it was unbelievably stupid. It was like an almost crash, because for some strange reason I decided to glance at my mirror as I was approaching a corner. And the reason is because I haven't ridden my bike in so long, I forgot how fast it could move, because I was doing such a high rate of speed that I wasn't at the end of the road when I looked at my mirror. I was still like a good half a block away from the end of the road. But because I was moving so quickly that just in the moment it took me to check my mirror, I covered that half a block. Yeah. And I think every motorcyclist has one of those moments. There's a moment where you decide, okay, I'm going to see how quick my bike can go, and you open up the gas, and then you get to the end of the road or where you're supposed to turn all way more quickly than you thought was even possible. And then and then you crap yourself. Is what normally happens. I literally remember the very first time that ever. Well, there's been a couple of times, but I remember the very first time I gunned the gas on my first 1000cc bike in Canada. This girl's really pretty on the right here. Yeah, she's that's called a beetle nut girl, and they're all over, but that one is more attractive than the rest. There's another one there, and she's not bad either, but that first one is wow. Yeah, in Canada, the first time I gunned it on a motorcycle, the first time I gunned it on my first motorcycle in Canada was 400cc, and I gradually, it was my very first bike, so I gradually worked my way up to full throttle, so there wasn't really anything unexpected or too, I don't remember ever being scared by it, and it wasn't that powerful of a bike. And then my second bike I bought and sold within a very short amount of time, so it doesn't really count. So my second, possibly third bike was a brand new 1100cc cruiser, Yamaha cruiser, but it had a lot of acceleration. And I remember specifically, I was next to a Jeep. I was riding it, and it was my first day riding it, or second day riding it, and I was next to a Jeep, and there were some girls in the Jeep, and they looked over me and smiled, and then I twisted the throttle, and I wasn't braced for the acceleration, so my head whipped back. Imagine how dumb I would have looked. My head whipped straight back, so I'm pretty much looking behind me with my head bent over backwards. Yeah. So yeah. Because I didn't expect the acceleration. So we're going right into the city during rush hour, which is always fun. This is like literally the worst possible way we could approach the city. Look at this. So, there's totally a gap there. I can fit through that. What were we talking about? Yeah. So I had a close call. Oh, and then I bought my first 600cc. I bought a CBR. I had a CBR 600 RR that I bought in Taiwan. And I remember being nervous because I'm like, okay, this is much quicker than my other bike, and my other bike whipped my head back when I wasn't expecting it. And I remember the first time I gunned it, and yeah, I got up to like 240 kilometers an hour, and on a road where the speed limit was probably like 50 or 60, and then I had to quickly shave off all that speed before the corner, and it was scary. But like generally, you only have one instance like that with each motorcycle. It's just like the first time you kind of really gun it and then figure it out, and then you're like, oh, okay, and then you know what to expect in the future. There's still all these leaves on my bike. Speaking of which, speaking about the fact that I don't ride very often, I need to get an oil change. People don't know this, but if you don't ride your motorcycle for like, say whatever, you know, you go away to the army or whatever, and your bike sits in your garage for like a year or something, you need to change the oil when you get back, even if you never rode it, because oil that sits in oil that's just been sitting for like a year or two, it loses it's due to the humidity. Due to the humidity, the oil loses its I don't know, slipperiness or whatever. So even if you only have ridden 50 kilometers since you changed the oil last, you still need to change your oil if you haven't ridden in a year or two. And I got a friend of mine in Canada that has a motorcycle that she doesn't use, and every time I go to Canada, she lends it to me. And I just figured out the last time I was there is that she's never changed the oil on it. It's been like 5 to 10 years since she changed the oil last on it. And I was like, well, we have to do it. And she's like, oh, it's okay, don't worry. And I was like, and as I was riding it, I could hear the engine like it was fine when I first started riding it, and after a few days I could hear pieces of metal and stuff. Like it wasn't good. I felt guilty because I was pretty much destroying her motor. But I told her multiple times, and then I tried to change it myself, but it was, you know, I couldn't. I've only got one hand. I'm handicapped. I couldn't get the bolt. I couldn't get it. I was trying hard, and I think I even asked someone else to try, and they couldn't get it either. And you know, in my defense, it was a bolt that hadn't been unscrewed in like 10 years, so it was pretty darn stuck. Anyways, I don't know if this video is interesting at all.